Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wildcat Fanalytics. I'm your solo host today, Jesse Johnson. My good man, Mike Defoe, could not face the agony of a post-Wisconsin breakdown. That's only partially true. He is also celebrating his 40th birthday and probably in a much better place for it. So I'm going to be solo today. He did help me out with a couple stats, and he should return next week for the Duke aftermath. So here we are, folks, post Wisconsin. If you're like me and Mike, you felt sort of jarred by that game. It was unexpected, not only in result, but in how it played out. Super bizarre. And one thing I'm going to try to do today is sort of like work with my own impulse around single cause, single effect thinking, which in sports is really easy to go to when things are so jarring and bizarre because we want to have an explanation that sort of soothes the pain. And so, looking at the responses to this game, you have 63 fouls combined. Um, there's a 47 free throw attempts for Wisconsin. It's easy to like look at some sort of injustice around officiating. So just for the next 20 minutes or so, I want to invite us to just suspend our disbelief about collapsing the Arizona basketball world into two dimensions. Because when we do that, I think there's a lot of nuance that's lost, and we can create these sort of declarative statements around like we're just not that good, or the officiating was horrible, and otherwise we would have won. Or some people even go so far as to say something like Tommy's not the guy. And any of these three statements and statements like that could be true, of course, could end up being true, could be true today. I'm not refuting any of that. What I am saying is that it's more productive for me and my sanity to hang out in the nuance of the world and in the sports world. So we're going to kind of break that down a little bit. I'm going to do my best to do a little bit of self-paced video without my counterpart here. But just yeah, like a couple sort of perspective statements as we start off. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that we're going to go into the Kohl Center and we're going to score 88 points, we're going to be plus 19 on the boards, and we're going to hold Wisconsin to one offensive rebound, I would have said our chances for losing are maybe 0.1%. That has no statistical relevance. I'm just like intuiting that. Um, if you would have said we're going to do all that and lose by 15, I would have said maybe 0.001%, like one in a thousand. So it's pretty weird for sure. Um, and it also says that like obviously like statistics can never capture the whole picture. And of course, in those box store scores type of statistics, we can easily just kind of cherry pick things that fit our pain or whatever we're trying to confirm about our bias. So it also leaves out that we shot 38%, that we had a bunch of turnovers, and that they shot the lights out from three and the free throw line. They had like an historic sort of performance and efficiency in those ways. And we're going to break that down a little bit. I'm not sure there's anything like super mysterious or dramatic about it. I think this game may have been an example of just piling on a lot of really well executed possessions by Wisconsin that had they been misses, could have resulted in layups or free throws for us at the other end, but they went all in on really tough threes and they executed really well and they ended up getting a lot of free throws. Say what you want about the officiating. They also committed 31 fouls. So let's not collapse that into some sort of blame. And let's take responsibility and see if there's some agency moving forward. The second point is that we shot 70% from the free throw line, and people want to point to missed free throws because there were so many. It's easy to feel the impact of individual misses. We had 40 and we missed 12. That's still 70%. Shooting 70% from the line has never lost anybody an NCAA championship. In fact, the rough estimate of the last 4 decades of NCAA champions, the average free throw shooting um, percentage of those teams is around 72. So you want to give Bradley one more make, and we lose by 14. So let's not get caught up. Free throws really aren't that big in terms of the variance, unless you're, Kansas in 2003 and you're way under. But 70% would be fine if you shot that on the season. That's not losing you any games. That's not the explanation. You can be a little better. Sure, UConn shot 74 and 76 in each of the last 2 years, but that's pretty elite. 70 is fine. We take that. I think what I felt watching the highlights was that a lot of those misses, but bulk of those misses came in the stretch between like 16 minutes and 6 minutes to go in the second half when the game really like came back into question and we made a great push to get even at 65. And then we had a number of chances at the free throw line. And I think there might have been 5 or 6 misses like right in that stretch. So those felt like each miss probably felt like 2 or 3 misses. Okay. So yeah, let's go to the tape and I will fumble my way through some of the threads that I'm seeing. I also want to hear in the comments from you all, what did you see, what did you take away from this game? Because there's so it's so easy to just dismiss it. I almost forgot to share, and Mike wouldn't have been here to tell me. Also, just before I say that, thanks to Mike and KenPom, he mentioned it was an 82 possession game, which was a little higher than I thought. Um, and makes our performance not that great when we say 88 points because it was a much higher possession game than Wisconsin you would ever imagine Wisconsin would play. Kudos to them. Still 88 points and 82 possessions at Wisconsin without any other context. You'd probably expect you get a pretty darn good chance to win that game. So yeah, so it's not going to be all bad, and I think we have some hope. One one theme I noticed in going through the replay and the highlights is that we had this defensive approach as we have the first 4 games of being super aggressive, overplaying denial, and um, and sort of Wisconsin playing and going for like aggressiveness, right? And so in this first possession, even you're going to see right now, Townsend is in denial, Awaka's in denial, and Bradley's in a ball pressure position. So the first 20 seconds of this possession are outstanding, in my opinion. And then we're going to get beat backdoor, right? So great ball pressure. Initial actions are shut off, so they have to go to something else. Now we're going to switch. So another theme is there was a lot of perimeter switching. And sometimes it worked pretty well. I think it's actually one of our better go-tos. And it works pretty well in this possession, to be honest. We just make one mistake and you give up a 3-point play. So Klesmit's going to get doubled. Awaka recovers really well. Look at the denial. He's got to basically reset it. And you're at 10 on the shot clock now. You've had everything you've attempted shut down in the first possession. Everybody except for Kroll, is that Kroll? Yeah, is pushed out to 30 feet here. Arizona defenders are in an awesome position. We're doing everything right, is what I'm trying to say. And then we're going to get the switch. So then they stick with it. This is the thing Mike and I have been calling for Arizona. They don't panic, they stick with it. And so he's going to get the switch. So now you get Townsend on Tanji, and he shuts it down. So he picks up his dribble. Now you're at 5 on the shot clock, and the ball is going away from the basket outside the 3-point line. Right here, Townsend goes to sleep for half a second. Credit Tanji for recognizing and going back door. And the 3-point play. I don't know why that's a foul, but apparently it is. So that's brutal. And that's also great offense. Like you have to credit Wisconsin. Tanji made an incredible cut there. I'm not sure I can criticize Townsend that much. He fell asleep for like maybe a tenth of a second. I'm going to let it run at full speed so you can see it. He falls asleep for a tenth of a second. And so maybe there's learning there. A great possession defensively. And here you go. Here's the switch. Watch when he gives it up. Whew, that was it. So brutal in the sense that we played really solid defense for basically 27 seconds. And then, Townsend just relaxed a little bit, and that was it. Similarly, a couple minutes later, again, this is really nitpicky. I think what I'm doing is I'm breaking down maybe what we could say is a little bit of the Arizona responsibility. I'm sure when it comes down to it, our defense wasn't all that bad. But here's another good possession. Again, they're halfway through the possession. Lewis is all over him. They've got nothing. We're in denial. So we're out of half court here, 14 to go. And again, I'm stepping out of my lane a little bit here. I don't always love the stances that Arizona players have. And you can see right here, nobody's in really a guarding stance. And Lewis is going to get caught just a touch not ready, right? He's just not ready. And Tanji gets his shoulder around him. Um, so again, I'm out of my depth a little bit, but I do know enough about basketball to say, like, I think we have to be really respectful of the threat of the offense. So he's pointing. They're trying to do some communication. Tanji does an excellent job again of just getting by him, but I don't think he should be able to beat KJ off the dribble. If KJ's in a guarding stance, is my feeling on it. Okay, let's see. We're gonna do one more on this theme here. So I think it really speaks to my question about when we say, how do you lose a game like this way? Is I'm not sure the Arizona culture is there yet to be able to say, this is my court and I'm taking it personally when you score on me. We still look a little casual, and there are several examples. It's not that we're not trying. That's the kind of like hard thing to parse out in the nuance. The effort is there, the focus is there. I just don't know that the urgency is there. And so here's another one where like overplay happens. There's a good switch. So we're switching on the perimeter. And here's going to be a five-man ball screen for Tanji again. And there's a theme in this game where that's fine to overplay. But then you have like the more you overplay, like we said last week, the more you overplay, the more the defense has to be connected because the more help. Like if you get beat, you're really sold out and you're giving up easy shots. So here you're going to see an overplay and KJ's beat, which is fine. He went over top of the screen because we're trying to take away the three. And but that means we've got to react. So Del Orso's not going to get there, though he's got good awareness. So that means Awaka's going to have to commit and he's on his left foot. He's not ready. So you're going to get the bump from Lewis and the foul. And I just feel like we're 98% of the way connected, but Wisconsin did an incredible job of exploiting that 2%. And I really like in watching this, I mostly give Wisconsin credit, which I know is really tough as a fan because you want to feel like your team controls its own destiny always. Um, but guess what? There are other forces at work, and that is hard to surrender to. That was a nice inside out three as well. So, so that's I think one of the themes I think Arizona can go back and look at is to say, were we really, really guarding? And if we're going to play this hyper aggressive deny defense, then we have to be more connected because you have to trust your teammates. And I didn't see a lot of the rotations happening fast enough. Again, I think they happened, and Wisconsin did an excellent job of being prepared, but they didn't happen fast enough. This is a really good possession. Let's see if I can get to the start of it here. And we just didn't, like we covered the first three quarters of the possession again, but Wisconsin sticks with it, and the rotation's not going to happen. So here's good recovery, good recovery. And right here, Love's going to get beat. Again, if you're going to play up really tight and you're going to get beat, then you either have to adjust and back off, or you have to be much better in our help position. And Wisconsin spread everyone out. They had four out. In fact, the five man's looks like he's going to screen across on the weak side. So Krivas is there to cover, and that causes this rotation to happen. So Krivas, he does stop the ball, but now you've got Lewis sort of in this no man's land of am I a helper or am I guarding someone? And Bradley. And this is what seems to happen to Arizona a lot. And again, I'm out of my lane here. This may happen to a lot of teams a lot, but when we get beat, it seems like we have over help, but not effective help. And so right here, you've got three guys around the ball. And instead of either being practiced enough and coordinated enough to to cover, we just sort of get caught like sort of like bystanding help where we're just watching instead of Lewis either kicking over here. Like I would say Lewis should probably, I don't know. I would imagine Lewis has the easiest path to rotate to Janicki here, but we just stand there and nobody knows, right? So Lewis thinks he's going there. There's confusion, and then you give up the wide open three. So again, great job on offense by Wisconsin, but I think the opportunity for Arizona is to get much more connected. That's been the theme Mike and I have been discussing the first two games is we look really aggressive, we look capable, we look engaged, and now you get exposed because, you've been able to get away with pressure overwhelming far inferior opponents. So that's why we play these games. First of all, it's really great in a way, as painful as it is. Wisconsin, like really, really put it to us and expose. Like that's invaluable tape for the team to look at because it was so picked apart in masterful ways that you now have sort of the answer to your weaknesses. And that's really valuable if you use it, right? So now what we're going to be looking for in the coming weeks is, can our defensive connectedness improve? It doesn't matter what scheme you're running, but you certainly, if you can't rotate and you can't communicate and you can't understand those things second nature, then really good teams are going to take that little opening and exploit it. And in this game, they just happen to hit a lot of shots. I'm even willing to say, on an average night, this performance changing nothing except Wisconsin's shot making could be different. You could win the game shooting 38%, scoring 88 points, and maybe Wisconsin just misses some of those shots because they did make a lot of sort of all or nothing type shots is what I call them, like these ball screen threes where we have perfect rebounding position and we're going the other way if they miss. They made a lot. I think they made 12 threes. I think they were 12 for 25. And of course, 41 out of 47 from the line. So they really capitalized and they needed to. Had they missed a few in critical moments here or there, the momentum could have shifted and, could have been 90 to 86 Arizona. But it didn't. And so that's what I really came to. I was texting Mike earlier and I was saying, watching the highlights, my takeaway is that Wisconsin had a nuclear performance in terms of execution and efficiency and actually just shot making. They didn't turn the ball over. It was almost like I was watching that NCAA sign stealing documentary on Netflix with Connor Stallions in Michigan. It was almost the basketball version, which doesn't exist because it's moves too fast. But it was almost like if they had the signs ahead of time and they knew exactly how to attack each thing. They were super well prepared. However they did it, they were super well prepared. And hopefully Tommy can use that. But part of it was they just executed really, really well. And I think the opportunity in that, if we're collapsing it in a 2D world and we're saying, and we're blaming the officials and we're saying, like Wisconsin just shot the lights out, it takes away the agency of the team to say, well, we want to have more of our destiny in our hands. And to do that, you have to be willing to take the medicine of that tape and watch those plays and how they beat you. The gift of it is that they've exposed every possible sliver of vulnerability in your defense in one game, which is kind of amazing because it usually takes half a season to get that much film. I would imagine they pretty much did it all in one game. There's every type of scoring in this game, and there's every type of action, and even some of the good coverages we had. Like Del Orso catches a lot of flack because he's not great on ball, and I am the first one to say that that was my concern this summer. His defensive metrics were not good, but he closed out on a couple of those shooters, and yeah, he had to play back because he's worried about getting beat. But they hit, like Johnny Blackwell hit a dribble step back 25 footer that he was in front of, like he didn't get beat. So I don't know what you're supposed to do in that case other than tip your hat. And yes, if you're a better defender, you have different coverages and maybe he doesn't get that shot. I completely appreciate that. But overall, it wasn't like, we were getting beat for a ton of layups. So so tats off to Wisconsin. And if you're Arizona, you can't let that be where the story ends. You have to say, we have to do better at making an impact on the game. And I still think we are not to the point as a team where there's pride, where you walk into an opponent's gym. And even if they start out the way they do, you say, there is no flipping way that we are not standing our ground here. And I just don't think we're there yet. You have athletes like Jaden Bradley, KJ Lewis, Caleb Love, Tobey Awaka, and then Trey Townsend, who's a very willing fifth year senior defender. I've been really impressed with him, actually. That team can't give up 100 points to anybody, and it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Like that shouldn't happen. So I think there is a lot to take from this, and I'm discouraged, but I'm really hopeful that Arizona can take something from this and actually learn rather than feel like we're running out of the gates in November, overwhelming people, getting steals, but not really being that solid, and then eventually getting exposed and deteriorating our ability throughout the year. Maybe this is the arc that we've been asking for. I do want to show a couple clips. I thought my Bear Down award this week actually goes to Trey Townsend. He he did a great job on the boards. He actually scored several times over people in post up, which was my biggest concern, where I thought he would struggle at this level. And he really came through in this game. I thought here's an action where he's going to have a Deloreso dribble handoff, two screens. He's going to get it back, and then he's going to drive on Xavier Amos, who's got 2 inches on him. He's going to use his strength and go right into his chest. That's a beautiful way for an undersized four to use his strength. Shout out Mike Luke for the Xavier Amos reference. Um, and then there's another one. I'm going back and forth here just to get my timestamps. Let's see, is this right? I may have this wrong. Let's see. This is going to be an and one where Townsend starts in the corner. I like this set here. Dribble handoff where he just attacks the lane, pause, goes back to the right hand baby hook. He seems to like that, and he gets the and one. He's really good at creating contact, goes right into the chest. Obviously, he's been doing this a while, so he knows how to deal with his size. And then the last one, he's gonna get the ball not even in the post here, and his back's to the basket. So this should be where he has the most difficult time scoring in the Power Five. A larger defender, not quite even in the post, and he's gonna have to take him off the dribble. And he goes back to the right hand, over and one. Again, that's probably not a foul either, right? So really, hats off to Townsend. He and Awaka did, and Krivas did a great job on the boards. I mean, we killed them on the boards. Um, really, you shouldn't lose a game like that with those basic stats. We missed some shot opportunities. Caleb Love had a really, really rough game. I'm sure there'll be more people want to say about him. Um, I don't know what else to say. It's a bummer. But I hope that they're looking at film and they're getting ready for Duke. And I think the potential silver lining is like if they beat Wisconsin, that they come in this week and maybe are falsely overconfident. Certainly shouldn't be any overconfidence coming in against Duke. They should have their full humility, and humility is a great place to get hunger from. And if these guys come in and reclaim some identity and some pride, and say like I'm flat out embarrassed to give up 103 points to an inferior team, then maybe we've got something this year. We'll see. Mike and I were saying, and maybe our first one of the season, we said the hope this year is that we change the cycle of basically peaking in late November, early December, and then sort of hanging on and like really disappointing in March. So that means if we're going to change that, that means we're going to be a little more uncomfortable in November and December as fans than we're used to. So buckle up. We could be 3-4 here in the next week. That's crazy. I know. We really could be. So let's hang in there. And my commitment is to see it all the way through because I'm interested in a different story arc this year. And the cool thing about this story arc is if it plays out, it's going to be super triumphant because we're going to already have tasted the low point. So Wildcat fans, bear down, hang in with the low point. I don't know that it's going to get better, but I'm choosing to believe. And I will be in Tucson, flying out tomorrow, bringing my 10-year-old son to his first game in McHale, only my second game ever. And we're going to be there. And so if you see us, please say hello. Wildcat Authority folks, shout out. Um, let's hope we can bring home a W. Because imagine as kind of weird as this whole last weekend felt, imagine how you might feel this Friday night walking out of McHale or ESPN, as it were, with somehow getting a win over Duke. It will make this Wisconsin game feel like a thing of the past. So hang in there, bear down. Mike and I will be back next week. Peace.